What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am BDLM, coming with my buddy J4Y, bringing you a Dota On Demand Podcast. This one is episode 17. What is going on, buddy? Oh, we're getting up there.
We're about to hit 20, so
Yeah.
we're getting closer to being legal drinking age, which is nice. You know,
Always nice.
I would actually like to go for one of those right about now. We should have a drinking cast one of these days and just see
we
where
will.
it takes us. But
Be
I'm all right.
fantastic.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. This time I have some dinner staring at me. I've got a tuna steak that's just like, come on,
Been there?
almost.
Yeah.
Yep. Again, if you guys weren't here Thursday, which I imagine you weren't, but if you listened in on episode 16, I was at a funeral last Tuesday, which is why we did not do our weekly cast, but we got it in on Thursday. Please, like I said, if you guys had any comments or thoughts about how that one went, feel free to leave them. But tonight we're actually going to be talking a lot about the Dota 1 patch that just hit, and some of the heroes that have been showing up competitively, and also some of the little tournaments that have been going on.
Actually, did the patch actually hit? That's the question. It's either about to hit or it hit. We'll put it that way.
Fantastic.
That's that's what's important.
It's coming. Like it or not.
Oh no, it's just released.
There you go.
No, we're right. I just wanted to
Yeah!
question you. That's all.
Here at Dota On Demand, we like to fact check right as soon as
We
it's
start
necessary.
saying something. Yeah.
Why do it ahead of time when you can just do it on the fly?
Preparation is not key, as we are finding out for this episode. So, yeah.
So how about you go through a couple of the changes, some of the big ones that are gonna affect Dota 2? Because obviously we were wondering back in episode 5, way back in the day, would those Dota changes carry over into Dota 2? They did, so now we can assume that these are gonna go ahead and go through.
Yeah.
So
Ice Frog said specifically that he plans on them mirroring all the changes that happen in Dota 1. So, and since he's obviously got a huge role in the Valve game as well, then I'm pretty sure, we are going to continue to see these big patches carry their way over into Dota 2. Which actually brings up an interesting question. Now I'm thinking about it. Are they going to release heroes in both games at the same time then? Or is it just going to be Dota 2 here? I mean, that's down the road, of course, but you'd have to think Dota 1's eventually going to start trickling off, and Dota 2 is going to really just be the focus for Ice Frog. But anyways, that's just a thinker, a noggin boggler. That's the word I wanted to use.
Of course, what other word would you use?
There's
That
no
one's
other
just
words
so
in the English
perfect.
dictionary. That's not even
That's
in
the
there.
only one.
That's how awesome it is. So there was a lot of changes. There's a lot of tweaks, a ton of tweaks that we're not going to get into because most of them aren't as big deals. Like Gerald's silence AoE is now 25 radius bigger. Woo! Game breaking. But there are a couple cool ones that we're going to point out. Let's see. The first one I guess I'll mention would be Darkseer and how he's going to. We'll see how I guess the community reacts to this. Because originally, when you got him in Agumon Scepter, his wall of replica, if your allies ran through it, they would also create the illusions that I guess are under your control that do that percent damage and all around us. That becomes so useful when he picks that up because now you kind of gained control of I guess creating illusions, whereas before you put up the wall and hope that either your vacuum or they walk through it, or it kind of that was the only way you could create illusions. But they're like, oh, now I have this Agumon Scepter, my team can walk through this, we have our own 5 illusions on top of maybe the enemy's illusions, and now it's just a huge cluster F of illusions. But now that's changing. First of all, the illusions are going to take 50% more damage, 300% total now. And now that Agumon bonus no longer creates allied illusions, but instead will increase illusion damage, so from the enemies, from 70, 80, 90% to 100, 120, and 140% instead. So obviously, pretty game-changing for him.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I'm thinking about it, the change the Agumon Scepter, it stops what we haven't seen in a while, but one of the earlier games where we saw Darkseer in Dota 2, where he would put up the wall, and then every one of the team members would run through it real quick and then send the illusions at the tower and just do that repeatedly until the tower eventually went down. So that's no longer going to be as big of a factor. And yeah, you can't really now the Darkseer really is a response to something instead of you just being able to generate like, oh, we want to push, so we're just gonna have illusions out the wazoo. Now it's like, okay, they're gonna have a lot of damage coming at us, so we can pick up Darkseer, and if we get the Aghanim Scepter, okay, now we have an anti-mage that's doing more damage than their anti-mage, and you can get into stuff like that. But I mean, A, will he be pickable, and B, if you do you think it would be worth getting the Scepter?
I see. I personally think this is going to take him out of the meta because like I said, I thought the main purpose of that was not necessarily that it's like more control or things for damage necessarily. I think it's just that you can control creating the illusions, which is the hardest part. You'll have to just ignore that background noise. It's going to happen throughout the cast. Anyways, I just want to get out of the way because
kittens run rampant.
Well, it was either that or I lock them up in their rooms and they're going to start meowing. So I was like, I'd rather deal with them being playful. But yeah, so at least now you can control, or you won't be able to control creating those illusions anymore, which essentially means that you have to hope that either, like I said before, your vacuum gets them over the wall, or they for some reason want to initiate and they go through it, and like, I mean, and now they die faster. So while they do more damage, they're going to die even faster, and they died pretty quick before. If you had a couple AoE spells, it didn't take very much. So yeah, I don't think he's going to really have a place anymore in this pushing kind of meta that's occurring,
Yeah, I mean, you think it's not like it's hard to come by big AoE spells. I mean, Queen of Pain, Earthshaker. I mean, the Enigma does a ton of AoE damage as well. I mean, it's not like it's so difficult to come by. These spells are going to be able to take out the illusions quickly. So yeah, I really don't think. I mean, I haven't really been impressed with Darkseer lately. Anyhow, I mean, I mentioned this last time. He's very niche, and that niche doesn't exist anymore, but people are still picking him because they're just so used to thinking of him as so good. So yeah, I'd have to think that's probably going to be like a nail in the coffin, which is a little unfortunate. We'll have to see if they try and do anything else to maybe buff him afterwards, to maybe keep him viable. We don't know.
I don't know, but did you want to go into a second hero?
Nope.
That gets changed? Or item?
No, because you have them all in front of you. I just show
worthless?
up every Tuesday. Well, I mean, I could mention that the Crystal Maiden Freezing Field AoE increased by 100.
You could, and you did. So now that everyone knows that, and
maybe that's what we'll do. You get to name one of the useful ones, and
great.
I just get to.
You get to have the troll fun ones. All right.
I like it. Let's do it.
But yeah, also now Invoker got a couple changes. Nothing that's like earth-shattering. I don't believe this will stop people from playing him or anything like Darkseer, but it's definitely going to possibly change builds, or we'll have to see. So Chaos Meteor got a little buff. Its damage went up. It scales better with Exort. I guess 5 more per level of Exort. And then the land time decreased from 1.5 to 1.3, so it's going to hit faster, making it easier to use, which is part of its main problem in the first place. The EMP, which drains mana in a big AoE after a certain amount of time, can no longer hit invulnerable or tornado units like it is able to right now. As well as its cooldown getting increased from 25 to 30 seconds, so a 20% increase in time. That's kind of a big deal. As well as tornado cooldown increase from 25 to 30. So his two, I would say, most used spells currently that you see in games, the Tornado EMP just got a longer cooldown. And actually, Tornado's damage got decreased slightly as well on top of that. Not substantially, but some. So yeah, obviously that's going to affect him. And then Sunstrike, which is another Exort move. Actually, it's 3 Exorts. Now we'll do pure damage instead of magical, which we've discussed pure damage before, so you guys should be pretty familiar with it at this point. And it also now reveals the area will hit before the damage impact. So if you remember correctly, this is a global spell he can cast that it has a pretty long time. It's like, I think it's like over 2 seconds before it actually lands, maybe 2.5 or something. But he gets to cast it somewhere on a spell. It's a kind of small AoE, but it'll charge up and then land there and do damage to anyone that's standing on that spot. But now, obviously, like it says, it's going to reveal the area it'll hit before, so you'll kind of see what's going to happen if you're going to even hit anyone in the first place.
Yeah.
And then the pure damage, obviously, that's nice, and no more mitigation. That's kind of cool. But I don't know. What do you think this is going to maybe change builds of future Invokers?
Yeah, I mean, I think still Tornado and EMP are probably still going to be his strongest moves. But yeah, I do like that there's more encouragement towards these Exort builds. I mean, Sunstrike's a really cool ability. I like it. I'm trying to actually look to see what the duration is before it lands. But maybe I can... Oh, 1.7 seconds. So there you go. A little under 2 seconds. But yeah, and actually being able to see if someone's there, I mean, you can essentially scout with it now. You can check the Roshan pit with it, for instance, and that can actually be a pretty big deal. So I really do like it, and especially when we've seen so many builds where people won't put even a single point into Exort to open up all the other spells. I think it's really nice to see some kind of push towards other ways of building the hero.
And I can't remember who it was. There was someone in the tournament, though. I wanted to say it was Dendy, but that's probably just because I know his name so much compared to everyone else. But there was someone who went that Exort build, and they went for the Forge Spirits for pushing. And that went really well. He was really powerful throughout the whole game. I mean, it was just different. It wasn't as much as utility as he was for... Like, he just wanted to pure push and do damage. And, I mean, it's just a whole other way to interpret that hero, And at the end of the day, he still had the other spells, so he could still do some. And then, of course, when you get in the later game when he has all his points, well, then it doesn't really matter what you invested in the first place, because now he's strong in every aspect. So, yeah, I think it's honestly, Exort's a viable build. It just really depends how you're trying to use him. Are you trying to push and do big AoE teamfight stuff, or are you trying to CC, drain mana, keep those mini stuns with the cold... Is it cold snap? I think that's what it's called. Yeah, so obviously, so many ways to build him. That's the fun of the hero.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, too, when you were mentioning, like, the Forge Spirits and stuff, is, even if there's the one spell that you like out of Exort, so, oh, well, maybe I'll try an Exort build. Because it interacts with so many other spells, it's like, yeah, it's nice getting the push power, but everything else kind of sucks, so is it really worth picking up? If you have these other spells being buffed as well, now it's, like, suddenly more viable to go over those Exort points.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. So here you go. I'm going to not troll...
Oh.
Yeah, for a change, believe it or not. And this will actually lead into something that you will bring up, I would imagine. Furion's Wrath of Nature mana cost was increased by 50 at the last rank, and 25 at rank 2. And also, the teleportation mana cost doesn't decrease the level, it stays at 50. So he'll be a little bit more mana hungry, already being a very mana hungry hero.
Yeah, and then kind of paired with that, although it's not just for him, but it kind of is at the same time. There was another change where right now on the map, if you don't explore it, a part of it, there's a Fog of War, which really, so I guess I'm just going to say it's for profit. Essentially, like, he can't use his teleport spell on a part of the map that is unexplored or has that Fog of War. But they're removing that Fog of War, so now, from the sounds of it, we haven't tested it, but from the sounds of it, sounds like he'll be able to just teleport. He could go to the fountain at level 1 if he wanted to. I don't know why he wanted to,
I believe the technical term is willy-nilly.
Yeah.
He would be able to teleport
sounds
willy-nilly.
like a noggin boggler, kind of a...
Willa-nilly around the map.
Willa-nilly?
Yes. Beautiful.
An adverb?
You love it. I don't know. I don't... English,
I think she was an adverb. Wow, I'm pretty impressed that I picked that up.
I am too, because I still don't know. So, yeah, there you go. A little bit more room to roam with Furion, but, he is very mana-intensive as it is right now, so it's like, yeah, oh, he can teleport everywhere, so broke, but can he really teleport anywhere whenever he wants? Yeah, but it's potentially damning to him if he doesn't have, if he doesn't get anything out of it, so...
I mean, 50 mana is still not very much in the grand scheme of things. No. And he is an intelligence hero that scales with, or he gains a lot of int per level. And then also, generally, people build him, not always, but generally they build him with high int, like a Scythe or ulti orbs, those kind of things. So, I mean, while we do see occasionally those, like, Desolator, Hand of Midas, Troll,
the good old days.
Awesome. The good old days. Yeah, now he just gets CC items. What a jerk. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I don't think these changes are gonna like. I mean, he's already been one of the most popular Pixar bands in the competitive scene, anyway. So, hey, this is not gonna take him down a notch or anything. He's still gonna be just as powerful at ganking and farming and pushing. This didn't affect any of that. So, at the end of the day, you know.
Yeah, I think it'll be nice too because that's another reason to pick up Medallion, which is just a fantastic item. So to give yourself some more mana regeneration, so you're not as strapped for mana. Boom.
Very true. Very true.
I don't have another one lined up because yours was so quick. If you had nothing else to say about that one.
Quickster. Quickie McQuickster. So, Puck, who unfortunately doesn't get picked up very often, but he got a slight change also. His phase shift, which you'll be able to, right now you can currently auto-cast it. The auto-cast is being removed, so you can no longer do that. However, the mana cost is also being removed. I think it was like 30 to 50 mana. These are things we don't research. Let's just, you know what? It was 50 because I said it is. The point is, it's not very expensive, but it was
50
enough
or 5,000,
since you could use it so frequently at level 4 that maybe over time it actually starts really being a detriment. And the other thing you have to factor in is in the laning phase, you could use it to dodge skill shots and all sorts of abilities. That was the beauty of it, but it still has a kind of expensive thing in the laning phase, and you don't have a lot of mana to throw around using on phase shift. So now, I think that's going to improve his laning phase a decent amount if they can be if the player is skilled with using the phase shift. Because obviously you're not going to max it out first. You're going to go with your illusionary orb or another, even the silence move, depending on what you're doing. Also, though, the level 4 duration increased from 3 to 3.25 seconds. So another quarter second. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he gets picked up, to see how well, maybe if he does even better in the laning phase and throughout the game. Honestly, I mean, either way, it's still gonna be helpful. But I don't know. Do you think he might be seen a little? I remember there was one. I swore there was one game kind of recently where he was picked up.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about that. Yeah, but yeah, I think the big thing with this is that you don't have to worry about saving mana now. So it's not like I could cast Illusionary Orb to harass in a farm, but what if I need to shift out just for to dodge a Sven stun or something like that? So you can just use that mana a little bit more at your leisure than feeling like, okay, well I have to have at least this much so that I can phase out.
Yeah, I remember there was I don't know, there was someone like that was high in the competitive thing talking about like saving resources to use like defensively instead of offensively. Like that's not nearly as fun for players as it is to use their spells offensively, because like I mean while it does like I guess help or maybe change with skill, but still I don't know, I feel like like players would rather try to spend their resources offensively. That makes the game more fun for them, it makes it more involved, instead of like, oh, I gotta hold back just in case something happens. Like that's passive plays. All that's doing is invoking more passive plays. So, we don't want to see that in the day. And with this current meta, we definitely don't see that because people are going all nuts about who they're picking, which we'll get into later. But yeah, that's mine. Did you want me just to keep going down, or did you have any more?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you trying to steal my troll segment from me, sir?
I was.
Too bad. Juggernaut, with Omni Slash, gives him 200 flying vision during the duration, which means, I believe, that this will allow him to be able to potentially go over small terrain things, like up a cliff, perhaps, if he has a target up there, or like across a tree. Craziness. Craziness.
Now, Imba. That screams Imba to me. I don't know.
Well, you think, now you can't, like, chase one person down with your ulti as effectively, perhaps. You could be so good, right, that you're just like, oh, my buddy's getting Omni Slash. I'm going to walk over this ledge. And then all of a sudden, oh, man.
I'm just saying, Bat Rider's done for. He was the only hero that could fly before. Now this guy's kind of got like a flying thing going on, and now who knows what's going on.
Oh, man.
He's probably upset. Speaking of Bat Rider, I'm just going to say it because we just mentioned him. And we've been talking about Bat Rider probably any of the 15, maybe like the first 2, but we don't need to go into that. His Flame Break ability that used to be where you just basically chuck this bottle in a line and hope to hit something, went for a really far distance. And if it didn't hit anything, it just kept going until the maximum range, and then it did its little AoE. Now it's a targeted AoE spell, so essentially making that a lot easier to use. And I mean, while I don't think this is enough to, once again, change him to come into this current meta, because his main purpose was to lock down either a carry or someone really important in a fight with his ultimate, and then do, I guess, decent AoE damage. But really, it was just to lock down like an anti-mage, a Faceless Void, a Spectre, who knows, something like that. So now that the meta is kind of shifting away from that, I still don't think he's going to get used. But I don't know. At least you think that maybe, like I said, make him easier to use and more playable.
Juggernaut?
No. Not Juggernaut.
who are we
Juggernaut's so hard to use right now. You just have to spin to win.
I am busy looking up troll things. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I try to involve my co-caster in my conversation.
Nope. Who are you talking about?
Bat Rider.
Bat Rider. Yeah, oh, that's right. Totally. Bat Rider. Well, the nice thing is that the Flame Break can't get caught on creeps anymore because it just flies to its destination.
Yeah.
You may have said that already, but I don't care. I'm saying it again because I'm a troll.
It's okay.
So, yeah, makes them a little bit easier to use, like I seem to remember you saying.
Yeah, no, it did. Thanks for agreeing.
And then, so I probably agree with most of what you said in that case.
Go on to your next thing, because
Back
you're just repeating everything I'm saying. So.
Priestess of the Moon. The cooldown on the ultimate got reduced by 20 seconds at all ranks, which isn't really anything too crazy, but because she's already being picked up, it's not like it's going to be like, oh, all of a sudden she's usable now. But it is really nice to see that get a cooldown reduction down to 2 minutes. Still a really long time, but it's such a versatile spell, being able to get people out and then to help initiate with that, nice.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's useful, that's for sure. And I mean, we do often see it not even picked up to levels 8, 9, 10, just because her Starfall and her Arrow are so important for her in the laning phase to really... She could burst someone down so easily, like we discussed in our last cast when I was playing her. Just showed like how you can just arrow Starfall, and the Starfall hits twice. Oh, that's like 800 damage at level 7 or something. It's like, okay, you're probably dead. So it's because I played her that we won. So I mean,
of course,
that's just. I mean, the hero's okay, but I made her what she was. So
I know
you understand. But yeah, I agree.
Wait, what were we talking about? Legion Commander, I'm sorry.
You wish.
Yeah, I do.
Another brief... I'm just going to go over these last couple ones because these are just quick little quickies. I like using that word tonight, quickie.
Great.
I could go for
Fantastic.
one. Couriers. So the Animal Courier, the first one, that's not a flying one, got reduced 20 gold. And the upgrade for it got increased by 20 gold. So overall, it's the same cost, but I guess what this is allowing you to do is, I guess, spend maybe that 20 gold will let you buy another, I don't know, ward or health. I don't play support, to be honest. I have no idea what that's going to do, but something fun.
I don't either. No, I do, but I didn't do the math. It's been a week.
What
can I say?
There's got to be something. There's got to be reasoning. Obviously, maybe.
None whatsoever.
No, actually, it just didn't.
Arbitrary adjustment of price.
That's exactly right. They just felt like, messing with us.
Yeah.
Morphling, who you never see, poor guy. Well, maybe you never see. So now his passive, or not passive, his ability Morph, which lets you convert strength into agility, or vice versa. Now also, in addition to doing that, it gives passive stats. It gives, I think it's 4, 5, 6, and 7 strength and agility. Too high? You're looking at me very funny.
3, 4, 5, 6, I think.
Way too high then. Way too high. That's one off. Okay, get over it.
What?
So
I'm sorry.
It is 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh,
That's agility and strength. So that's 2 stats. So that's 12 stats just from a passive thing. That's pretty sweet, actually. And they also say in here the waveform now properly dodges projectiles. So it's supposed to disjoint or dodge like arrows or all sorts of crazy things. And now, just like BDLM is failing at, it wasn't dodging, but now it does. So that's pretty excellent. And then of course the last little change, I mean there's a billion, but this one worth mentioning is Enigma's Black Hole. Now people that are caught in that cannot be force staffed out.
There you go. Yeah, which, I mean, can't say that I've seen it done a ton to, like, change the world, but
no.
There you go. A little bit,
if anything, most people
Enigma
probably
Black
use
Hole.
it on Enigma herself to stop the interrupt instead of...
That's true.
Does
and it's
Enigma
a dude.
have a sex? It's a dude?
I would imagine
It's
so.
just a blob of...
I think it's not, but he is,
It's
again,
like a genie.
it's either dude or chain smoker.
A blue... Was he smoking like the Aqua Cigs or whatever?
Yes.
E-cigs? No, what are those?
I don't remember.
I'm sorry, I don't do.
I'm
enough
not cool
drugs.
enough to fake
Yeah,
smoke cigarettes.
I need to.
So
I need to get to that level.
there you go. Well, all right. So I'm just gonna. This isn't really a big one. I think the troll ones are more interesting now than the one I actually am somewhat interested in. The regular just Dota 1, because these are all things that were applicable to Dota 2 and how it might actually affect the game as it is right now. The things that happened in Dota 1 that we can't see a direct result in whenever this patch hits. Medusa, split shot, shoots 5 arrows instead of 4. So the deal with Medusa is she could do a reduced amount of damage, but do it to more targets. Very nice for pushing, farming perhaps as well. So just nice way to see her get a decent amount of damage increase. I believe it's going to be an extra 75% of her base damage at rank 4 on that. So, and that'll also hit all enemy heroes if they're in range. So, boom.
All 5. You're just gonna hit all 5 heroes.
I haven't played Medusa in such a long time, and like since she had Purge. And so I'm actually really curious to see how she plays now, I'll be honest.
You know what I just thought of?
Hmm.
You know how much I love Warlock? Fatal bonds with that. Yeah.
Fatal Bond split shot.
Perfect,
Across the sky.
right?
What could be worse?
They'll just keep doing all the damages. It's going to be wonderful.
Great.
So, I mean, I don't like her. I think she's terrible. But,
Mm-hmm.
I guess that little troll, buff, sure, that's great for you.
And to think that was originally my non-troll one. That's the sad part.
That is very sad, honestly.
So what about you, buddy? What's your favorite Dota 1 patch thing?
Well, obviously it involved my friendly little friend. He's not little. Actually, he's pretty big. Ogre Magi, whose actual name in Dota 1 is Agron Stonebreak. Did you know that? I didn't.
I did now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I knew that. What are you, fool?
I've known for about a half
By the
second
way,
now.
oh my god, his strength gain, 3.2. Holy moly, what an int hero.
Also more than IO. Boom, boom.
Way more than IO. Almost twice. Anyways. So this guy is basically a melee caster who is an int hero. But he has a few moves where he has one Fire Blast where he stuns, essentially a unit for, 1.5 seconds.
Yes.
And it does 275 at the last rank, so pretty good damage. He has another move called Ignite, which is basically he throws this bottle on someone, they take damage over time and are slowed during the duration. And then he has Bloodlust, which if anyone's played Warcraft 3, or Warcraft 2 actually is in that as well. Maybe Warcraft 1, I didn't play it, who knows. But the point is, it does increase movement and attack speed of the unit he casts on, so hopefully you'll be able to cast on an allied unit, non-enemy unit. Yeah, and so it lasts actually 30 seconds, which is pretty sweet. And that's pretty good. And then, of course, what makes him so fun to play is his ultimate called Multicast. Yeah, fun to play. Oh, fun. I get to randomly kill people, darn it. So, it's a passive, first of all, that does actually increase your Fire Blast mana cost by a little bit each rank, but that's not a huge deal. So what this does is it allows Fire Blast, Bloodlust, and let me start
You can do
over.
it, buddy. I believe in
Start
you.
over. His Ignite, which is the bottle he throws on people, now is an AoE, so it can hit a group of people around where you throw it. Bloodlust can be cast on multiple people, so if you cast on an ally, it multicasts, and then 2 or 3 allies are now Bloodlust instead of just the one. And that does prioritize heroes over creeps, fortunately.
Bloodlust the
All
courier.
the treants are just gonna wreck. And then Fire Blast, of course, also casts multiple times, you guessed it, which is the most fun part about him. So essentially, at the first rank, it's a 25% chance to cast twice, and then second rank, it's a 40% chance to cast twice, or a 20% chance to cast 3 times. And then at the last rank, it's 50% chance to cast twice, 25% chance to cast 3 times, or a 12.5% chance to cast 4 times. So, unmitigated, that's over 1,000 damage on Fire Blast at the last rank if it casts 4 times. Just saying. And what I wanted to talk about this patch note was now he finally has an Aghaman Scepter. I wanted it so bad on him, but I had no idea how to implement it, because, like, what, is he going to cast 5 times or something. Like, how much better can you make his ultimate? Well, now they went a completely different direction, and he now gains a new spell called Unrefined Fire Blast, which is almost identical to the first Fire Blast, except it has a longer cooldown, a much bigger mana cost, 400 mana cost, same range, same duration, same damage, and that can also proc the multicast. So he can do a multicast Fire Blast followed by another multicast Fire Blast. I'm not going to try to trick myself here. But yeah, I just think this is a wonderful idea because I was a hardcore Ogre Magi player, and the items to build on him, besides Arcane Boots, which is the dead obvious one because he's so mana dependent and he's, you know, he's an int hero, but he plays like a strength hero almost because he gains so much strength and not a lot of int. That's like, oh, I need mana so bad. But there wasn't a whole lot to go after that. It was like I could go like a sheep stick or I could go random things. But at the end of the day, I just want to keep casting my spells. So what should I get? Well, now this is the perfect thing to get because you just get to cast more spells that multicast. So
Yay.
I don't know. If he was in the game right now and this came in, honestly, I'd be interested to see if people would even consider picking him up. I don't know. You gotta factor this in: bloodlust on multiple people, so 50% attack speed at the last rank. That's huge. Plus some movement speed, a decent amount of stuns and slows, so he's got some good CC going, and then he can almost insta-give another support on the other team. So
yeah, I don't know. I think if anything that would make him viable, it's definitely the bloodlust over anything else. But I think it's a lot just the melee mage part. I think is a little difficult to, I don't know,
justify,
deal with. Yeah, I don't know why, but the bloodlust can of course be very useful on just trying to get people in and out of fights, people that have to initiate or just get out, people running away from the enemy team. And of course the attack speed is really good for your carries. But yeah, I think it's really nice that they added this 5th ability just because you have something else to do other than run in circles after you cast twice. So I think it's a really nice thing that they've done there. It's interesting that it's the same amount of damage too, and it's just really the longer cooldown and the larger mana cost. But yeah, you are going to be somewhat restricted then once you pick that up, is you're going to have to, okay, well, do I have enough mana to then cast a super expensive spell as well as my normal Fire Blast?
Very true. I don't know. It'd be interesting to play. Unfortunately, I do not even have Warcraft 3 installed to try this lovely patch.
Get on it.
Get on it. Get on it. Dude, if I had that, I would be trying out like that Draconis hero and all those other heroes. I know you'd be doing the Legion
no one
Commander.
but Legion Commander.
I know.
Yeah.
Just all day. And he'd probably be awful.
I would be terrible. That's part of the beautiful thing about him not being in the game is I can dream of the amazingness that would be me playing him. But, you know, as soon as I get like the first time, it's going to be terrible and I'm never going to touch him again. But yeah, getting out of the patch, we did have some recent tournaments go on, and just because of the way that other things have been going on and the random times we've been casting, and the fact there have been a couple of tournaments, and also the fact that the finals for these tournaments has sort of been kind of meh at best, I'm just going to go ahead and list off the winners, in case anybody has not been following along with who's been winning these things. The defense is over. It was won by Na'Vi. Yay! Na'Vi back on top. And then, of course, in the Dignitas tournament, EG came out on top. And then in a Razor tournament, Mineski came out first. Mineski? Is that right down?
That's how I'm doing it.
I probably did. Mineski? Alright, whatever. Fine. But yeah, interesting to note, too, in the Dignitas tournament, Na'Vi was in that, and they got taken out. And this was a tournament that happened pretty close to after the defense, too. So
by the Kazakhstan team, who even knew they existed before that tournament? I sure didn't.
Probably everyone in Kazakhstan. I bet it's a big thing.
It's probably their national sport now. I'm not sure, though. It's funny to joke about that, but Korean's national sport, I mean, it's up there for esports. I don't know. Whoops, I am messing around with the background.
Fantastic. Keeping it professional 100% of the time.
Always.
But while the kind of finals for these tournaments haven't been maybe that interesting or, you know, haven't been that recent that we thought it would be worthy of bringing up in a podcast, there were some really not strange, but interesting new hero pickups recently. Namely, Tiny, Leshrac, Morphling, Huskar, Juggernaut, and then Outworld Destroyer also got picked up at least once. Just kind of interesting to see all those heroes that some of them have appeared before, like Morphling and Huskar have. But yeah, just a really neat hero pool. So we're going to kind of just go back and forth talking about how these heroes have affected the games that they've been in and why they may or may not fit into the current meta.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll start since you stopped. Leshrac's kind of always been off and on in the scene. He was used for different purposes, though. I think he's kind of got a new role in this current meta than he did before. Because you used to see him on support sometimes because of Splitting Earth and the Lightning. It was good harass and, I mean, pretty good lane presence. But now we've seen him picked up to be the one that gets all the farm in a lane and to level up Diabolic Edict and just annihilate towers with it. If it is the only target it's hitting, that thing dies quicker than a hawk on a Sunday. I mean, that's just... It's true.
I have never known a day of the week that hawks die faster than on a
It's actually
Sunday.
Sundays. It really is. If you've ever... Go scout some out. You'll see what I mean.
Make some friends with some
Or
birds.
just play Leshrac and you'll see what I mean. Either way, do
There
that
you
one.
go.
That's a lot easier.
Whichever one's easiest for you.
Anyway,
If you live in like an eagle roost, maybe you could ask somebody. But for the rest of us, we can just play Leshrac, I guess. Yeah, the Diabolic Edict is so strong. See people pick the 1 rank in the stun, which is mind-boggling to me because the radius is smaller at rank 1 than it is at rank 4. So, you know, kudos for being able to hit that, individuals out there who do that. And then, yeah, the Lightning is good for clearing out creep waves and harassing, like you've been saying. And, of course, if you go for, like, the Aghanim Scepter and the Bloodstone, which I think are the, like... the luxury items that just like make you unstoppable to a certain degree. You know, you can be a force to be reckoned with for sure.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think Bloodstone is. Yeah, that's definitely luxury. I mean, I feel like you would see other items come up first, but still, not a bad item. I know. I think you like it more than I do on some heroes, but. Because it used to be a point where it gave health and mana regen that for each charge, and now it's just mana regen, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously he is one of the more mana intensive heroes. I think Storm Spirit might be one of the only ones that's more mana intensive than him with his ultimate. So because I mean, there's so many things Leshrac's casting off that it's debatable, but I think Storm Spirit could eat through his mana the fastest. You can't argue that one.
That's true.
But,
From fountain to fountain across the sky.
But yeah, no. I do like him. I think he's not going anywhere anytime soon. I think unless the meta completely changes back to farm a carry, I don't see him dropping out of this one. So yeah, he's not banned a lot though. Interestingly, you normally don't see bans go out on him. So that's why I guess maybe why he's getting picked up more because people are still speaking of bans. We got to mention that now there's 5 bans instead of 4, meaning 3 bans before the game starts on each team, and then 2 after the first 3 picks go out.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, actually, especially because we're still dealing with a limited hero pool. So I don't know. I wonder when, you know, Dota 1 actually went up to 5 bans, if it was near a similar number, but yeah, there's a lot of just kind of random bans or bans where it's like, okay, we might see this and we just don't feel like dealing with it. Like Juggernaut got banned one game notably. So yeah, you have a lot more options now, I think.
Yeah, and I mean that's what's letting these heroes I think you mentioned actually come into the game because before, you know, they only were able to ban 2 before the game started. And they're like, oh, I can pick up this hero and this hero and this hero. So like we always see Prophet, we always see. Or, like, we always say at least a couple of those Imba, well, we say Imba, more well-used.
The stronger
in this current game setting. But, yeah, now that those guys can actually be banned out, or even respect bans, whatever the team decides to throw that third one on, yeah, I think it gives a lot more leeway for these other heroes, as you mentioned, to come on in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting hero to come in has been Tiny. He, not too long ago, got his Aghanim Scepter enabled, which he didn't originally. And I, unfortunately, was there to witness somebody build Aghanim Scepter on him before it was enabled. And that just That just broke my heart, I'll be honest. But Tiny can do an AoE stun. The duration, I'm trying to figure out how to describe this. I believe it's a second after the last sort of row of rocks is thrown, but the whole duration that you're in it, you're also stunned. So it might be like 2 seconds, you want to say?
Why not?
All right, sounds good. Maybe a full 2 seconds.
Sure.
Probably rounding up, plus or minus 12 seconds. Doing 300 damage at the last rank. He has a toss which will allow him to throw a unit onto another unit. The unit that's thrown is one closest to him, and when it lands, it will deal 300 damage at last rank to the person it hits. Scray Exterior gives him additional armor and a chance to stun attackers and also do a little bit of damage. And then his ultimate Grow, it will give him bonus damage. It decreases his attack speed, increases the damage taken by the person who's hit by toss up to 65% last rank. But it is really the Augmented Scepter that has, I think, brought him up to be pickable in the current meta game. It allows him to pick up a nice little tree. He just gets it for free now. He had to pick it up before, so buff. With this, he picks up the tree, gets an additional 235 attack range that cleaves for 50%, and a 400 AoE, and 1.75 times damage towards buildings. This also increases his toss damage as well, the sort of multiplier that's done on the back end. So to rank 3, the tossed target takes an increased 80% damage instead of 65.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, especially because obviously we talk about the meta so much, which is, I keep saying it, we should probably just keep spelling it out occasionally for people to just pick up, but the meta, when we say meta, we mean like what's currently, like what kind of strategies are implemented in the game. In this case, we're referring to it being like a very push slash maybe even like powerful early lane phase. They push fast, they get towers down, they get the gold from that, and they really kind of snowball with that advantage into the middle late game. So it's kind of drifted away from just getting one super strong carry, let them farm for 35 minutes. Now it's, more this pushing. So I just want to throw it out there in case people are like, what the hey is a meta? Is that like it's like beta, but
some kind of sandwich, I think.
I do like sandwiches. To give a little context for that cleave, so it says 400 AoE. Kunkka's big Tidebringer hit is a 500 AoE. So it's almost that distance for a 50% cleave. That's actually pretty substantial when you think of it in those terms, because that Tidebringer can hit from so far, you're like, oh my god, how the heck did I... I remember getting a quad kill with Tidebringer the other day, just with one attack. If I recall correctly, correct me if I'm wrong.
Against AIs.
Well... who's to mention that? Because that's just worthless information.
Quad kill nonetheless, right?
The point is, I killed 4 heroes with one attack.
Exactly.
So that's
like a boss,
important.
like a boss. Yeah. I mean, what else is like crazy important about this ultimate or the scepter is the increased damage to towers. So actually, it was a game I mentioned in the last cast thing. It was MTW versus. Do you remember what it was? Dignitas. Was it Dignitas?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Dignitas. Basically, because of the amount of damage that Tiny could do to the towers, they cleared one lane and then just thrown it with the time they had left. Which normally we see teams just like, okay, clear out a lane, back out, then go to another lane or try and circle around to another lane, push that through, and maybe try and end it on 2 towers, maybe have to go to the 3rd lane to get the mega creeps going before you can actually finish the game. But with Tiny, a lot of people will tend to pick up the blink dagger so that you can jump people right away, just blink right on top of them, do the AoE stun, throw them up, which is a huge amount of damage, 600 total between the two without the ultimate damage increase on the throw. And then look to go into either the Augmented Scepter or the Assault Curious, which increases the attack speed significantly. I mean, one of the things mentioned with the ultimate is it increases your damage significantly, 150 bonus damage at rank 3, but because of your attack speed reduction, you really have to make up for that in order to make him a really effective tower killer.
Well, I was going to just say, once again, I like to put numbers with things. So 1.75 times damage towards buildings. So at that last rank, Tiny does about 230 attack damage, it's fair to say, because 150 bonus, 75 to 80 damage at level 16 or higher, Sounds about accurate. So about 230. So he's doing an extra 170 per attack to buildings. That's
Boom.
ridiculous. That is about 400 damage to a tower or a building, an attack. And while, yes, it is a lot slower, if he attacks just a few times, that's already half of a tower's health. So, ridiculous.
He can very easily backdoor if he gets the
yeah.
opportunity. He doesn't need the team with him if he gets an opportunity. Like, he can, don't worry about it, guys. You all can do Roshan. I'll go kill this tower real quick. He can do it so quickly if you go for that Hyperstone to finish the Assault Curious. I believe I've seen Mask of Madness picked up on him as well. Just to get that burst of attack speed in there, just be able to level the buildings.
I actually really like that.
Yeah, and it's like I was just saying, it's the opportunity to be able to close out the game quicker. If you're this team that's really focused on the early game, if it is, okay, if they have a carry later on, we have to make sure we can close this game out and do it quickly and effectively. Now we only have to worry about clearing out one lane, and then we can just push right in through that same lane after we maybe get a team wipe on the enemy team, and then go straight for the tier 4 towers instead of having to methodically break down each lane, drawing the game out even longer.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, generally, about, I would say, 85% of the time, a Tiny will go for a Blink Dagger first. Not first. He'll probably get boots and stuff. But, 2150 gold, he's kind of already set back towards getting that Agamons as his next item. But at the same time, when he gets that Blink Dagger, if he gets that quick, he's going to get a lot of kills, predictably, from all the ganks he's going to be doing. So I guess that's going to also speed him back, catch him back up to get that Agamon Scepter. So not a huge deal, but yeah, it's just the way Tiny plays. He's a melee caster, if you will. He's gonna need that Blink Dagger to get in there. Maybe even a Force Staff, but I mean it's almost the same cost, and you might as well just go for the Blink Dagger at that point, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Peppy on MTW has done a really awesome job on Tiny, just being able to get the early advantage and then keep it going, just snowballing up like you were saying earlier. Just being able to get the Blink Dagger and then use that to help get your Augment Scepter or your Assault Curious to help give you that advantage so that you can really start to create more opportunities and take advantage of it as you go. So I've noticed some other Tinies though haven't had quite as much luck though. So it really is sort of about getting that really quick early advantage. Actually, I was watching. I wish I could remember who it was against now, but it was in the Dignitas tournament, I believe. MTW playing somebody in Cinderin actually picked up the Tiny and played a mid. Couldn't get a very solid start, and so he was never really able to sort of run around the map just gibbon supports like you really want your Tiny to be able to do if you're looking to go into that Augment Scepter.
Yeah, I mean that's a real shame, but I don't know. I've liked when I've seen him played some of the best. I generally will see him in a side lane with a lot of protection, so he can just go straight for like that Blink Dagger, and by 15, 16 minutes he'll have it. And while he doesn't have a ton of mana at that point in the game, it's usually enough to at least combo someone down. And he is such a snowball hero. Like once you get that and start being able to gank successfully, teams are scared. They need to double up on wards. They have to play a lot more passively after you get that blink. He's a scary hero, and I mean that's just, I guess, part of it. I don't know, a mental attack.
And when you're saying too about if he is able to get that significant farm, that significant lead, any opportunities you give the other team, kind of just the reverse way of thinking about what I just said is, okay, we can't be caught out. Nobody can be caught out because if they get a little bit of an advantage, the speed at which they can kill buildings means we're at least going to lose a tower, if not the lane, if not tier 4 towers, if not the throne. So
split push.
You really. Yeah, that too as well. Yeah, he can do it so effectively. If the rest of your team can keep up pressure at the front door, then you can just go in through one of the side ones very quickly. Yep.
Absolutely.
Did you have another hero from this list?
I might as well.
Titillated your
We're actually starting to
parts.
get to that hour soon, so I'll just go into a couple of these. We'll try to be a little quicker about these. Tiny was the big one because I think we're going to keep seeing him, especially with these extra bans. I think he's going to be seen a lot more, so it'll be interesting if we actually do or not. Morphling doesn't get a lot of love at all for the most part. Probably for the reasoning that he is a ranged AGI carry, but with one of the shortest attack ranges in the game. It's 350, so I believe that's even lower than Vengeful Spirit, which is really depressing. because I think hers is 400. So
I think you're right,
imagine
yeah.
attacking shorter than Vengeful. Vengeful Spear can out harass Morphling. I mean, that's depressing. But yeah, he does, however, have a lot of interesting abilities that I guess I want to say he's really good at not dying. Like one of the best carries at not dying, bar maybe Spectre or something. Um, but I guess I'll just quickly go over these moves because I'm sure a lot of people that listen actually haven't had much experience with Morphling just because you never see him. But yeah, his first move, Waveform, he dissolves into his components and surges forward, doing damage to everything in its wake. So basically, you target a point on the map. It's a 1,000 casting range, and he just goes in a straight line towards it. While he's going in that line towards it, he's invulnerable to damage, and he does what it does at the last point, 325 damage to everyone in the path. So it's really good for farming creeps, avoiding skill shots or nukes or what have you, or escaping because it's 1,000 range. It's like it's farther than a blink, or it's the same range as a blink. So now you know what that does. We go to the second ability, Adaptive Strike. Oh, by the way, that's usually prioritized as his first move when you level him up. Adaptive Strike. Blast the target with that magical energy, dealing damage and disabling the target based on Morphling's dominant attribute between agility and strength, which I'll get into how that happens more in the next move. But essentially, if your agility is higher than your strength, then it will do it'll do maximum of the damage range that it has a damage range, and then it'll be a mini stun. But if strength is your max attribute, then it'll do the maximum of a stun and the minimum of the damage. So I guess I should probably see what those ranges are, so you have an idea what the heck I'm talking about. At rank 4, it's a 0.25 second stun up to a 3-second stun. And then the damage is 80 plus 0.25 damage, or 0.25 times your agility, up to 2 times your agility damage dealt. So, in most cases, you're going to have higher agility as an agility carry than your strength. So that's going to do just a mini 0.25 second stun and 80 plus 2 times your agility, which later on, 100 agility is not challenging for him to get. So that's easily a 300 damage nuke with a mini stun. And it's also just 100 mana cost and 10-second cooldown and 900 range. So it's really far cast, actually. But usually will prioritize that last. Morph. This is what makes him Morphling. He converts. Basically, there's no health or mana cost. I thought it cost in mana. This boggles my mind. Well, then why does this thing say it doesn't?
I don't know.
Very interesting. Well,
20 mana per second.
Well, then this site, Dota 1 site, is lying about it. So there you go. Anywho, 20 mana a second, as you heard from the boss over there. Basically, it now gives, or it will in this patch, give 6 agility and strength passively. Not yet, though, unfortunately. And then you gain 2 skills. If you turn one on, and it stays on autocast until you toggle it off again. If you turn the first one on, it'll convert your strength into agility. If you toggle the second one on, you convert your agility into strength. So obviously that's how he's going to mess with his stats greatly, which impacts, of course, his Adaptive Strike. We should have been doing this a different way, but that's okay. You hate me for it, I bet. That's okay. Anyways, never mind. I'll tell you after. These people don't want to hear it. It is 20 man, but I'm scrolling down. It's 20 man per second.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
The site's got it. It's good.
There you go.
His ultimate, Replicate. 25 mana cost, 80-second cooldowns. Obviously, mana cost not an issue. Duration 30 to 60 seconds, depending on the rank. It creates an illusion of the target, and it can only be cast on a hero, either allied or enemy. The image only does 50% of the damage of the normal hero. However, Morphling can press a fantastic button on his keyboard. Actually, the player will probably do that, not Morphling. It would be pretty creepy if Morphling reached out and grabbed your keyboard. But essentially, you can teleport to the location of wherever your replica is, and you become, I guess, and then it disappears, obviously, so you just go to wherever it is on the map. This has so many uses, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I guess we'll get to that later. That's the hero. Obviously, kind of nutty. The attack range is unfortunate, but I don't know. What do you like and dislike about this hero?
What do I? What do I? Well, I mean, I like that the waveform allows them to, get some mobility. It can navigate terrain, yeah.
Yes.
So there you go, a good way to get away, a great escape, a good way to dodge the old stunneroos as they come in. The adaptive strike, of course, having the ability to have a stun or just a bajillion extra damage is something nice. And then, of course, the morph ability will allow you to, if you're starting to take a lot of damage, you can start changing your agility into strength to try and get away, which is nice if you have the mana. And then, of course, like you said, replicate. You could have the copy just sit in the fountain. So worst case scenario, you just switch back to wherever the replicate is to heal yourself up and get yourself out of a team fight. Or just have it with you to do the extra damage because it does do the full damage, I do believe.
50%.
Or 50%. 50% of the target's damage. So if you clone the enemy carry, that's a lot of potential damage that you can be doing in addition to whatever your own damage is. And interestingly enough, I mean, you can probably get into it, but the Ethereal Blade is actually picked up on this hero, which generally doesn't happen.
I was going to say, one of the only heroes it's possibly viable on. Yeah.
Yep.
I like him, and actually, the more I was thinking about with his range, I mean, I think there's a main reason his attack range is only 350 is because his adaptive strike's 900 range and his waveform's 1,000 range, and replica can let him go all over the map. So I mean, he's got like so much ability and so much range from his other abilities that I guess they have to cut him short somewhere. And the 350, it's really not that bad. I mean, you also have to figure in like against melee heroes. Obviously, you're still going to be a ranged hero against them. And waveform will let you get close to them, so you have a way to escape or go in. So yeah, I guess it's not really the end of the world to have such a short range. But yeah, like you were saying, his morph is what makes him so hard to kill. Being able to convert that agility into strength. Or if you just want to farm and push a lane, convert the strength into agility, go down to like 500 health and just do like 180 attack damage, something. And because you also get attack speed with agility, so and armor. Woohoo! Not that matters at 500 health, but you get it. But yeah, I mean, he's probably the most versatile hero in the game, except for Invoker. With I guess with his stats he is, but I don't know. I do like him though. I think he's got a place, but not in this meta. Just unfortunately, he's not a great pusher. He's like I said, I just think he's really good for his mobility and his ability to escape. But I do, for example, like you were saying, replica. I think a lot of people also like to use it like to put in a completely different lane, because he can go push bottom, replica's ally put the ally top, or his replica top. He'll farm everything bottom, and then go to his replica, farm that whole lane. Like he can just do so much, and it's only an 8-second cooldown, so it's not super long or anything. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's not a great pusher, and he's not a hard carry. I think he gets outclassed, and that's where he falls short.
Yeah. Speaking of carries, Juggernaut is the next hero I actually want to talk about. And it's so strange because when I saw Juggernaut, I did the initial head tilt, what? I'm like, you know what? This makes complete and total sense, actually. When you're thinking about a metagame that includes a lot of heroes that are there for their spell damage, for the ability to do spells, Juggernaut, his first ability allows him to spin around, dealing damage and an AoE around him, and also allows him to go magic immune, which is just huge when we're talking about that. So stuns don't affect him, any kind of slows don't affect him. So, a lot of times, if you're coming up against somebody in the lane very early in the game, if you get close enough to him, you can just spin on top of him, and that's almost enough to kill them. The duration of it is 5 seconds and deals 140 damage per second at last rank. Healing Mortis's W ability allows him to heal for a percentage of allies' health in the area of this ward, which can be moved around. It starts off healing 2% per second, up to 5% per second, with a mana cost of 140 seconds and a cooldown of 60 seconds. Lasts for 25, which is just an absurd amount of time. Blade Dance allows him to get crit strike, or the ability to do double damage. At 15 up to 35%, and his ultimate Omni Slash allows him to move between targets, hitting them and just immediately moving to the next target instantly. So this lasts for duration depending on how many attacks you're doing, which increases as you level it up. It starts at 3 attacks, then goes to 6 and 9. He is invulnerable during this whole duration. So he has a lot of ways of blocking out damage. This can be affected by Agnum's Scepter, by the way, increasing the number of times it will hit targets 6, 9, and 12.
And lowering the cooldown.
And now he has Flying Vision.
Woohoo! Hack
Boom.
sauce.
So, I mean, what do you think about him? I mean, like I said, pretty much I think the big reasons that he's sort of so important is because he can spend so much time invulnerable. I mean, what do you think?
Well, the thing is, I think he's a really powerful laning phase person if he's up against multiple people. Like, for example, I don't know. What I see, like, the thing is, okay, let me start over. Really strong in pubs because you'll see 2 versus 2 in the lane generally. And if you pair him with a stunner or a good slower or someone with a nice CC, and he's magic immune doing one of the highest damage percent. So it's at the first rank, it's 400 damage. You will not find that on any other hero in the game at level 1. Obviously, you can kill heroes with ease. However, in the competitive scene, generally a hard carry, if they're picked up, will go oftentimes in the side lane with 1 or 2 supports pulling and keeping him protected. And a lot of times, he's not even going to see the other person, or let alone be able to set up a kill on him. So, I mean, yeah, there's possibilities, but he's not going to be as strong as, like, for example, in the 2v2 lane, where they're going to have to be a presence in that lane, and he's going to be able to set up easier on them. But, that being said, he's very strong in team fights. Healing Ward, if you can get that not killed, you heal ridiculous amounts. I remember seeing that one video you showed me where he was a sliver of his health. It must have been 5% or something. He dropped his healing ward outside of the fight, sat there, and he was back at full health just from this ward. And I mean, that affects all your allies evenly. So if you can keep that in a team fight and not getting it killed, that's huge amounts of healing. So really strong there. Blade Dance, I mean, it's just crit chance, so it's not even crit chance, do double damage. So, I mean, that's a nice ability. It's good for, I guess, a carry, because it scales throughout the game. The more damage you do, the more double damage you'll do, right?
No.
And then Omni Slash, yeah. And then Omni Slash obviously also scales with his attack damage, which is very
it doesn't.
annoying. You're right, it doesn't.
You're a silly McBill.
I just saw attacks, and I just for some reason thought it did.
Silly co-caster.
Can it proc on hit things though?
I don't think so.
Maybe that wasn't here.
I don't think so.
Well, I guess I
You're
can't
just
compare
terrible.
all games. No, you're the one that likes this hero. I'm pretending to like him. This is my care face. I'm trying so hard, but I do not like this hero. Mostly because I get stomped by him in pubs, and I just cannot. Oh my god! If you paired him with Witch Doctor, I would never forgive you. I would never forgive you. I would quit the game forever.
Yep.
That would be. I'm already early retirement right now, but that would just that would put me in the ground. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm done.
I'll continue my argument for this fantastic little guy here. The thing that I think is funny, as you were saying, it's like the reason that he's picked up competitively is for the exact same reason that people hate him in pubs. It's because he can just go immune, and if he just gets on top of you, he can kill you so easily in the early parts of the game. You know, pair him with somebody like Mancer, for instance. Just that huge slow is enough with the spin damage to be able to take somebody down. The other thing I think is kind of interesting about him is he's sort of like a melee version of Mirana. He's a mage that turns into an auto attacker. He has the flat damage from Blade Fury and also the flat damage from Omni Slash. But because he has this ability to get double damage through the Blade Dance, he starts off being able to do a lot of magical damage, but then will transition into being a source of reliable auto attack damage. And then of course the healing ward, when we're talking about a metagame where people are sticking together a fair amount for the most part, 5% per second is huge. And so if you're able to micro that ward around and keep it in a safe position, it does have, I believe, just 1 health. If you can keep that safe, then you're going to be able to almost ensure being able to keep your team alive throughout a fight.
He is just, his purpose is I think he's a lot different than a Faceless or an Anti-Mage. I mean, his main role is to dish out tons of damage in a very small window of time, I feel like. And the reason I say that is, of course, his ulti and his other move are very, big bursts of damage over a small frame. But his big weakness lies is in the fact that his only real survivability moves are his ultimate, which is obviously a long cooldown, and it's an ultimate. And then his Blade Flurry, which is a 24-second cooldown. And while you're using that, you can't auto attack. So essentially, you're later in the game, you're doing less than you would be doing with auto attacks anyways, and you just have to use that to survive. And then after that's up, what do you have left? You better hope your healing ward's not going to keep you alive through a team targeting you. So you're going to need either BKB. I just think he falters there where he doesn't have enough survivability in the late game compared to Spectre, Faceless Void, and Anti-Mage.
Yeah, but I think it's. I could see. I still like comparing him to Mirana. Like, yeah, he doesn't have a leap or anything. He doesn't have an out like that. But the nice thing is with the Blade Fury, you can actually use items while spinning, so you can TP out during the Blade Fury, so you can't get stunned or displaced, so that you can't get out. You will get home with the Scroll of TP using it during the Blade Fury. So yeah, I think the fact that he doesn't really have an escape per se is maybe something that might hold him back, but because he can spend so much time invulnerable, I mean, yeah, you might not be doing the optimal amount of damage late in the game, but I feel like it stays a competitive amount of damage long enough that he does feel the same kind of void Mirana does. I mean, much like her ultimate, I mean, that's so that you can get people away and then also help initiate. I mean, his healing ward is a very support kind of ability that can really help not just him, or it's kind of ability on the carries, I guess, more just damage ability or not team focused abilities.
Yeah, obviously keeping your team alive is very important for pushing. That's why I told you before, I'm so surprised still that I haven't seen Necrolite picked up, just because I feel like he'd be so useful in this meta. And maybe he will come up. And this is one of our things. Captains are listening in. They're like, you know what? We could design a strategy with Necrolite, getting all the farm in the side lane, getting a quick mech. If you give him a mech and you try to push a lane, the other team, unless they have like all Lenas to ulti you or something, like I don't think they have enough consistent damage to stop you, because he just brings so much to the table. But that might just be my personal bias towards I love that Necrolite hero. And like we said, he would have been a lot more useful in that Dragon Knight era, when that super tank big hero was coming through. He's like, oh, you're at half health. That's enough. Now in this case, it's like, well, I guess I could use it on that int hero, but that's not as effective as other things. I don't know. Just my 3 cents, if you will. I'll put the third one in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, in closing, I mean, I think that's kind of the nice thing about this. So we're seeing all these heroes come in, even if it's just for a couple games, just see them, give them a try. I mean, there are heroes here. We saw Probliss earlier today as well. Warlock's shown up a couple times. Heroes that are at least getting their chance at really showing what they do and how they can fit into a team lineup. So, who knows? We might even be able to get to see a hero like Necrolite sooner than later, because we're just seeing people look for the new sort of fad hero, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this week yet again, guys. You know what, Jay? Thank you for joining me this week. Thank you.
It was a lot for me to put up with, but it's okay.
It generally is, but I'm glad you do. So thanks for joining us again this nice little Tuesday night. Again, you guys know all the stuff to try and find us on YouTube, Owns, Facebook, yada, yada, and yada. We will see you here Tuesday night next week, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks. Have a good evening.